It's been gone for weeks, and I have quite a story to tell you about what all happened with this thing. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Rebuild It. It's been a while since we've been on Paul's truck, but it's time to start back work on it again and see what we can get done this episode. What I want to do is work on trying to get that bottom cushion off, because I have a brand new OEM one here. And this one is just pretty rough. You can see it's just wore right there, pretty bad on the edge and stuff. And I think I showed you earlier, there's a couple little cuts on the side of it. And then while I'm doing that, I want to get some of this stuff off the console that is disgusting and soak it in some hot water and letting it be breaking some of that filth out. I'll try to suck out all the what I can with the vacuum first, and then I'll put some in a soaking water. Look at all that. If you remember, the other truck that we did was full of coffee that it spilled everywhere during the wreck, and this is barbecue sauce, it looks like.
Gross.
So we'll get that cleaned up. Yeah, so all that stuff is soaking. We'll let it soak for a long time at hot water. It'll break some of that gross stuff down. And here we have all of our barbecue sauce all over the sides of that, all in there. There's screws in the back of that. I can take all the power stuff off of this and then really clean this rest of this plastic good without worrying about getting anything electrical. And this stuff down here is just going to have to be done with hot, soapy water on a rag, because you can't put it in the water. So while that's soaking, let's flip the chair over and see what we can figure out on the seat. All right, so the old one is off. It was not that easy, but not killer. Here we can see all of our heating elements. I'm not sure how the air flows through this. You know, these are cooled seats too, so I don't know where that comes through. But there's all these little clips, like on some of these I've done. There's just a wire, like on the cushion, and you're wiring it with like hog rings into cushions and into there's some straps in there. But this has got these little clips, and the straps are made into the cushion, and it just snaps into these clips to keep it all straight. And then there's a couple of Velcro spots here and here, and then everything wraps around a certain way and clips to the bottom. So then you got to take all that trim off first too. You can see all that to be able to get to it. Now let's hurry up and put this back on so I can remember how it goes. Okay, so there she is, replaced, and it'll have to, if you can tell, it looks like the headrest, you know, I mean, they're all the same color, but the back has had wear on it, you know, with your just rubbing around on it, makes it a little bit shinier. So that'll turn like that once it gets used a few times. And here's the other one. I went ahead and cleaned it too while I was doing it. Paul's behind will be in a nice clean spot. All right, and I've got all these pieces to the console clean and de-barbecued. I asked Paul if he wanted me to leave some of the barbecue sauce on the console in case he was ever eating some nuggets on a trip he was taking, but he said no thanks. All right, another thing I did is I went ahead and vacuumed most of the crud out of the truck And once I get it back from Mike, I'll go ahead and shampoo it. We'll take all these mats out and power wash them and shampoo the carpet and make it smell good in here. I mean, it doesn't smell bad, but like clean the back of that seat, and we'll do all that when we replace the headliner. I went ahead and also took out the airbag on the steering wheel. I gotta get one of those found. So this thing tomorrow goes to Mike, who has a frame machine now and is going to see what he can do about the front here. So hopefully he can pull it. If not, he'll have to order another little front thing to cut that out and re-weld the new one in, but hopefully he doesn't have to do that. And then he'll also, while he's got it, we've got the new hood here and the new fender. He'll paint those two things and blend onto the doors. Fix this dent here from the mirror hitting it. And there's another little dent right there. And there's the same thing on the other side. And then we've got some scratches that he's going to fix. That's why I left the tailgate off, or the back bumper off. Also, there's a dent on the top of this fender right here. Once I get it back, we'll get this headliner out of here. And I've got the seat belts and airbag module shipped off, so that should be back in another week. And the rest will be just replacing this dash and putting it back together. Guys, I've just returned from Bodyman Mike's, and I have on my trailer Paul's truck. Finally. It's been gone for weeks, and I have quite a story to tell you about what all happened with this thing. So if you can see, our frame is now straight. And if you remember, this side was really bent bad and kinked right in there. So bad that we didn't know if we could fix it, but it looked like all of the damage was from the axle forward. And so we thought, even if we couldn't pull it, we could cut that frame horn off and put a new frame horn on it right there. But when Mike got it to the shop, he found that it was dented or bent more back in there even. So it was not savable. So what we ended up having to do was put a new frame on this whole truck. Everything on that frame came off. The body, the bed, all the suspension, everything that was on it was removed from the old frame. And Mike happened to have a frame for a 2018 Chevy truck. So we put it on his frame. He sold me that frame. And now everything has been transferred over. So that is what took so long. Here's what they did with the rest of it. Remember, this fender had a little bit of damage on it, but it wasn't bad. They just replaced or repaired it. So it's back on and painted. There was some damage on these doors. You guys remember the mirrors had in the wreck slammed up against the door and put dents in them. So that they fixed that and resprayed the door. Let's see, there was damage back here, but I don't remember what it was. It's been repainted. Looks really good. Same way with the doors. There was that dent up here from the mirror. And there might have been a dent in that back door too. They might have replaced, painted that. Yeah, they did. They repainted that door. And this fender was replaced. The old one was destroyed. So that's all new fender, painted. Hood has been replaced. It's all painted. This needs to be reassembled. And they went ahead and put the radiator support back in, the new one, for me. And they've got all the gaps lined up right. So they really saved me a lot of work on this thing. So I've got some stuff that they ended up not needing, so I'll send back. But all the rest of the parts of this thing are out there in my new shed, which I'll show you later. Last time you saw me work on this truck, I was starting to build that shed, I think. Also, I think they said we need a new guard for the fuel tank. I think that's what they said. So I'll get one of those coming. That is it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is call my windshield guy and have him come and remove that windshield. It's all cracked. And get it out of the way so that we can have an easier time getting the headliner out. We've got another rim here. If you remember, the rim on the other side was destroyed, and he's got new tires ordered. So I'll probably take off 2 wheels at a time, give them to him, let him go get them mounted, and then bring them back and do the other 2. So that's where we are. I'll get this thing off the trailer and we'll start reassembly. All right, so I've got the truck in the shop finally for weeks and weeks and weeks. I've still got all these interior pieces that I've scrubbed and cleaned, and they're all ready to go back in. There's our front bumper that's been patiently waiting, and our rear bumper and our seat. More plastic pieces. But I think the first thing I'm going to start with is I'm waiting on my windshield guy to come. He's going to come like the middle of next week to get this out. And that's when I'll get the headliner out. I could go ahead and do the dash because I've done several of them with the windshield in. It's not that big a deal. But I think I want to start with some of this stuff up here. And then when I get tired of working on this, I'll switch back and forth into the interior. But I remember I took the antifreeze reservoir out because those are known to have that issue where it shows that there's low antifreeze and there's really not. It's that little sensor that's in there. It goes bad a lot, so I went ahead and ordered a new one of those. So I guess I took it out before. I don't even remember, it's been so long. But I need to go ahead and remove this battery and get to where I can get that reinstalled and get the hoses and stuff hooked back up. Looks like they did a really good job getting everything put back in. Probably missing that bar that goes across there because of that. It was probably destroyed with that fender, so I need to order one of those. This one was okay. I'll do that, and then I remember also that we got to replace this lower radiator hose because this piece right here was destroyed. I'll find that out in the shop or the shed, and we'll just see what all else is out there. It's been so long, and you haven't seen my shed yet, so I'll show you that. So ended up making a 2-story one with a loft up there where I can just open that door from up there and just, you know, store stuff just out of the way that's like bulky car parts and stuff. All of Paul's stuff is in here. Just haven't had this hardly any time. It's already full. So that's all parts from Paul's truck, or for Paul's truck. So somewhere in here is the radiator hose that I need. And I'll just keep looking until I find the lower radiator hose buried in here somewhere. All right, so I found a bunch of the stuff I'm going to need to start out with. There's a wiring harness that we got to replace before we get it buried. I almost forgot about that. Which means we have to take the fuse box apart to get to that, to get that installed. So I'll get all that done. That's one of the first things we got to do because it's going to get buried. And we got to do this cooler for the power steering. I think that's what that one is. And the transmission cooler, the lines for all that. And there is our lower radiator hose and the brackets that I was talking about. So we got a bunch, and there's horns. We got a bunch of stuff already we can put on. And there's our washer fluid reservoir. But first I'm going to take off this air filter top, get it out of the way, get that battery out of the way so we can get our coolant reservoir put in. Alright, so I finally have gotten the new wiring harness installed. You see it goes from up there all around, down through there, and up around, behind all that. And I took the fuse box apart. There's the new wire going in there. That's installed. And then I went ahead and installed the washer fluid reservoir because that our block stuff, got it all in there, got the battery box back on, plugged up all these wires going to it, and installed the horn, got it installed, tightened all that up. Luckily I saved all there's the smashed radiator support, and it still had the crash sensors on the front. So got those installed. That's what these bolts are. Still have to plug them up underneath there. And then I've got 2 ground wires I've got to plug up underneath that are bolt on, and I'm missing 1 bolt. Next step would be to go finish getting the ground wires and stuff hooked up so I don't forget that, and then start working on these brackets on this side. All right, it's the next day, and the first thing I'm going to do today is go ahead and get that lower radiator hose out of there, that old one, and it goes all around. That hose right there goes all the way, that little one goes all the way up, and that's what goes to our tank up there. So I'm gonna have to take that back off, pull all that back out, just that clamp up there, and then reroute the other one. And I saw that this one is not routed right. That hose that goes up there is supposed to come up over the top, and it clips into this right here. So that probably keeps it away from all the hot stuff. So we need to reroute that. Once we get that new one in, we'll start working on all these braces and stuff that go in here. Okay, so I've got the lower radiator hose installed, and of course it had antifreeze all in it, so it went everywhere. So I've been cleaning that up. I've got it routed around correctly, and then you can see this hose comes up through here, and it fastens to this bracket right here and goes up to the tank. So that's right, and it's really hard remembering where all the wires get routed after it's been months since you worked on one, and some of the stuff I didn't take off, and so I had trying to remember from the last truck. So luckily my truck's still here. I go upstairs and open the hood and shine a light down in there and try to see where stuff's routed, but it's so packed it's hard to see. Especially, like, for instance, all these wires that go to the lights, and they come up here and go to the outside temperature sensor and the hood latch and all that kind of stuff. I got to figure out exactly how they're routed around through here. There's a little cover, a black cover that goes across this on the back side. I'm going to put that on, and then because some of these wire connectors, or not connectors, but these things that attach, these little Christmas trees that attach to the holes in the radiator support, go through this cover. So I'm going to put that on first, and then get the wires routed, and then we can start working on trying to get these brackets installed. Okay, so I've been working away here. This is very difficult to do one of these after somebody else has had it all apart. Like, we've had the frame swap, so somebody has had everything in here off. So, and they didn't have another one to sit there and look at. Like, I've got my one upstairs that I'm keep going back and forth to look how stuff's routed. So, like, different lines were backwards, routed backwards. So I'm having to unhook stuff and reroute it the right way and hook it back up so that it attaches to the right spots on some of these braces and stuff. It's not anybody's fault. It's just that when it's destroyed and everything's all mangled up, you don't know which way it was routed from the factory. So it's just a lot more difficult to do it like this than it is taking it apart yourself and seeing everything and then putting it right back together again. So as I'm going, I'm thinking I've got everything right, because everything's got holes that it lines up with. I've got these braces or these brackets back in just loosely in there just to make sure everything lines up. And I got this piece in here that covers this hole, and all the different wiring harness lines are routed into the correct holes. So that's about, I think, all I'm going to do for tonight. And then tomorrow I'll probably start working on fan the fan shroud area and getting the fan connected back up. I think I'm missing a little part that actually goes to the guard around the fan to the fan shroud. I don't think I ordered that, so I have to look at see if I have that. And I think I'm missing the nuts to hold these the fan blades onto the clutch. So we'll see you tomorrow.
Man, what an episode. This truck, I think, has been the biggest roller coaster that we have had out of all the 28 projects or how many that we've done so far on this channel. I didn't know that we could have two firsts with this truck, which are actual engine damage and replacing an entire frame. Because with the Corvette, we had pretty significant frame work, with it being an aluminum frame. But with the actual full frame replacement on a 3-year-old truck or whatever, that's just absolutely crazy. And with that, it's time for our verse of the week, which is Colossians 3:23, which says, "Whatever you do, work with all your heart as for the Lord rather than for men." I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. If you did, make sure to hit the like button down below and then hit the subscribe button and the bell so you make sure to get notified for future videos. Sorry it's been so long since we posted, but we didn't have a vehicle to do anything with, so hopefully we'll get back to our somewhat normal schedule with, depending on how things work out, maybe a new car coming soon. See you guys later. And always remember, don't retire it if you can rebuild it. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in and watching this week's episode of Rebuild It. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any awesome content. Have a good one.